At my 8-year-old's $2,500 birthday party, my sister-in-law smirked and told my daughter, "You can't eat, ask your mom," while others feasted. I didn't yell, I stood up and said one sentence that froze everyone. My daughter Lily had been excited about her birthday for weeks, and honestly, I wanted the day to be simple. Just family, friends, and some cake. But nothing is ever simple when my sister-in-law Brittany gets involved. She insisted on planning every detail and charged me $2,500 for catering alone. I told myself it wasn't worth a fight. I told myself Lily deserved a nice day, and I ignored the knot in my stomach. When the food arrived, all the kids rushed toward the tables. Lily ran ahead of me, smiling, pointing at everything. She loves birthdays. She loves sweets. She loves being included. Most of all, she loves feeling normal. I was walking toward her when I heard her ask, "Does this have nuts?" My whole body stopped. That one word, nuts, changed the tone of the room for me. I turned and saw her standing by the dessert table, holding a plate she hadn't filled yet, looking confused. A child next to her shrugged. Lily looked around for help. "Aunt Brittany," she said, "can I have this one?" Brittany didn't even turn around. She was standing behind the table, moving plates around like she was arranging a display at a store. "Can I have this?" Lily tried again. Without looking up, Brittany said loud and clear, "You can't eat any of the food. Ask your mom for a plate." Lily froze, just froze. A few kids around her stared, too. One already had chocolate on his face. Lily looked at their plates, then at her empty one, then at me. "Mom," she asked softly, "did you bring my plate?" Not crying, not whining, just confused and embarrassed. I walked straight over. "What plate?" Lily pointed back at Brittany. "She said I can't eat anything and that you were supposed to bring my food." I looked at Brittany. "Why would you tell her that?" She finally turned around and sighed like I was the problem. "Jessica, she has a nut allergy. I assumed you brought her a safe meal." "You assumed?" "Well, yes," she said, folding her arms. "It's not fair for every other child to miss out because of one allergy, so of course I let them have the good stuff. You should have brought her plate. That's your job." Behind me, kids were already biting into things covered in chopped nuts. Lily watched them quietly, trying not to look disappointed. Paige, her older sister, slipped an arm around her, protective and tense. "Show me the menu," I said. Brittany rolled her eyes. "Jessica, don't be dramatic." But she handed me the catering sheet anyway. I scanned it. Every dessert had nuts. Almonds, pistachios, hazelnuts, cashews. It didn't matter what I looked at. Everything had some type of nut. Even the fruit bowls had nut toppings. Safe options existed. She simply didn't order any. Lily's eyes moved from treat to treat, watching other children enjoy everything she couldn't touch. She looked down at her empty hands. The hurt on her face was quiet, but sharp enough to split me open. Behind me, Brittany kept talking. "You always make things bigger than they are. She can just eat later. She doesn't need to make this about her." Then her mother, Sherry, chimed in. "It's not dangerous if she doesn't eat it, Jessica." And her father, Richard, added, "You're ruining the party." Brittany worked very hard on this. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't let myself crack. But inside, something cold settled into place. I stepped onto a chair. "Everyone," I said. The word carried through the room like someone hit a switch. Conversations stopped. Kids froze. Adults looked up. "The food Brittany ordered is not safe for Lily." Silence spread like a wave. "So, we're removing all of it." A few kids gasped. One set his plate down slowly. Lily looked up at me with wide eyes. "I'll be ordering safe food now," I continued. "It'll take a little time, so the children can go outside to play while we wait." A parent whispered, "All of it?" "Yes," I said, "all of it." I looked right at Brittany. She looked stunned, then offended, then furious. "If anyone disagrees," I added calmly, "you are free to take your plate and step outside. But this food cannot stay in here with my daughter." No yelling, no theatrics, just a simple fact. My husband Michael moved beside me then, quietly but firmly standing with me. He didn't say a word, but the look on his face was new, a line drawn finally. For a full 5 seconds, no one breathed. Not really. It was a silence with weight. Sherry's mouth hung open like she was trying to speak and couldn't find the words. Richard looked like someone had unplugged him. And Brittany. She stood there gripping the edge of the table, staring at me like she didn't recognize who I was, as if she couldn't believe I was choosing my daughter over her. But Lily, she looked at me like the world had tilted back into place. That silence told me everything. They knew exactly what Brittany had done, and they knew this wasn't over. If you've ever ignored your own instincts because you didn't want to cause drama, let me tell you a secret I learned the hard way. Drama is coming anyway. It just arrives later, louder, and usually when there's cake nearby. I didn't always understand how Brittany became the center of Michael's family universe. I didn't grow up with her, so I didn't witness the early years of her reign. I only got the highlights after I married into the family, usually through uncomfortable dinners, where my in-laws would retell old stories with the same proud tone people normally use for surgeons or war heroes. Apparently, Brittany learned to walk early, talk early, dance early, charm teachers early, and ruin lives professionally by the age of 32. Michael existed somewhere around the edges of the family photo album, smiling politely with the body language of someone who accepted second place long ago. He tried to warn me early in our relationship she's intense. Michael said once, after Brittany hijacked our anniversary dinner, by announcing she was writing a book on elevated event styling, and insisting we brainstorm chapter titles between courses. Intense, I asked, like a personal trainer. Intense like a small tornado, he said. But she means well. Right. By the time we had Paige and Lily, now 11 and 8, I'd collected plenty of field data. When I say Brittany was the favorite, I don't mean by an inch. I mean by a full marathon. Every conversation with Sherry and Richard began with Brittany, circled around Brittany, and ended with Brittany's children, Haley and Carter, who apparently could do no wrong. Meanwhile, Paige and Lily were the nice girls, which in their vocabulary meant don't ask for anything. Family gatherings had a pattern. Haley and Carter were given first pick of everything, gifts, treats, games, attention, while my girls were gently told, let them go first, they're younger. Even if technically they weren't younger, or smaller, or being reasonable human beings. Once, Paige tried to show Richard a drawing she spent hours on. He glanced at it for half a second, said, that's nice, and then turned to watch Haley demonstrate her special dance, which was just her waving her arms like a damp towel. He applauded like she'd cured a disease. Michael always tensed up during these moments. He'd stay quiet, stiff, like he was watching an old wound reopen. Later, alone in the car, he'd say things like, they mean well, or it's not worth the fight, or I don't want to upset them. He'd learned to shrink himself to avoid conflict. I didn't know yet how deep that training ran. Then came college, or more accurately, Brittany's college. When Michael turned 18, Sherry and Richard told him they couldn't afford to help him with tuition. He got a job. He applied for scholarships. He took loans. He made it work because he always made things work. But when Brittany graduated high school 4 years later, there was suddenly money. Plenty of it. We want her to focus on her studies, they said. She has so much potential. Michael didn't say a word. Not one. He just sat there with his jaw tight while they explained that it would mean a lot if he could contribute too. And of course he did. Because that's who he was. Because he felt guilty saying no. Because that family trained him to feel responsible for Brittany's comfort. By the time I married him, he was still sending them money. Quietly. Regular amounts. Sherry called it helping the family. It was really funding the favorite child's lifestyle. And yes, that included Brittany's kids later too. Birthday gifts, sports fees, random emergencies. There was always something. I didn't complain. I didn't push. I didn't want to create rifts. But it bothered me. The way they leaned on him financially while pretending he should be grateful for their attention. The way they acted like his success belonged to them, but his needs were an inconvenience. Then Lily developed her allergy. It didn't happen slowly or gently. One afternoon, she took a bite of a cookie at a friend's house. She didn't know. We didn't know. The friend's mom didn't know. 10 minutes later, she was gasping for breath, her lips swelling, her skin blotchy and hot, and I was running out the door with her in my arms, Paige crying behind me, and Michael speeding us to the hospital so fast my vision blurred. I will never forget the sound she made in the back seat. I still wake up some nights thinking I hear it. She lived, but barely, and everything changed after that. No nuts in the house, no nuts at restaurants, no nuts anywhere near her. Paige turned into her personal guard dog, checking labels, watching hands, hovering like a tiny bodyguard with stickers and sanitizer, and the whole family knew because we told them more than once, because we needed them to know. But some people take information and file it away. Others take it and pretend it's an opinion. Sherry acted like we were overreacting. Richard thought it was just a kid thing, and Brittany, of course, believed it was an inconvenience. When Brittany announced her new party planning business, she immediately inserted herself into Lily's birthday like it was her first big client. "I'll handle everything," she said, already making decisions before we agreed. Michael tried to push back, but Brittany steamrolled right over him. She always did. "It'll be good exposure," she told me, pretending to offer help while taking control. And just like that, we were locked in. I was paying for things I didn't want, and Michael was shrinking into old habits that his family had trained into him. I told myself it was fine, just a children's party. Nothing serious, but something in my gut knew better. And I didn't realize how right I was until the moment everything collapsed. Because Lily's birthday wasn't going to be a celebration. It was going to be the moment the whole truth finally snapped open. There's a certain type of silence that feels like the moment before a glass shatters. That's what filled the room after my announcement. Kids froze mid-bite. Parents looked around like someone had pulled a fire alarm. Lily pressed herself into my side. Paige stepped closer, already in protective mode. And then, of course, Brittany snapped first. "You're ruining your own kid's party," she said, voice high and shaking. This is mania, Jessica. Everything was fine, and sure, if you ignored the nuts covering half the room. She kept talking, waving her arms like a malfunctioning windmill. "You can't expect nobody to eat something just because she can't. She doesn't have to eat it. You never told me to order anything special. I just assumed. We can order something for her. We don't need to take everything away." Her words came out in frantic bursts, like she was trying to grab control back with sheer volume. Before I replied, Sherry moved in, dragging Richard with her like backup singers in a bad musical. "Our daughter worked day and night on this party," Sherry said, voice rising. "She picked every detail. She planned everything. She did this for Lily, and you're standing here treating her horribly." Michael stood up. He stood so suddenly the room actually gasped. I gasped. I didn't even know he could move that fast. Michael never stands up in conflict. He fades. He disappears. He becomes part of the furniture. But now he was standing between me and his family, shoulders squared, jaw set, looking like someone I didn't recognize. And then he said the words no one expected. "You need to leave," just like that. No build-up, no emotion, just a clean, sharp command that sliced right through the room. "What?" Sherry whispered. Michael didn't blink. "All three of you leave." You could feel the shock hit Brittany like a physical slap. She wasn't used to being told no, let alone get out. "Michael," she said, laughing nervously, "don't do this. She's being dramatic. You put Lily at risk," he said. He didn't raise his voice, but the entire room felt it. Richard tried to jump in. "Nobody put her at risk. She could have died," Michael said louder now. "And you're defending it." That shut Richard up, completely. Sherry's eyes went wide. "We didn't do anything wrong." Michael turned toward her. "No, you all stood here arguing about food while she was scared and confused." He pointed toward Lily, who was clinging to Paige's sleeve. "You're not going to do that to her." Brittany swallowed hard. "You're choosing her over your own family?" Michael didn't flinch. "I'm choosing my daughter." He didn't add anything else. He didn't need to. That sentence alone ended the entire argument. For a second, no one breathed. Then Brittany scoffed sharply, grabbed Haley and Carter, and stormed toward the door. Sherry and Richard followed, still glaring back at Michael as if hoping he'd backpedal. He didn't. They walked out into the hallway, and the door slammed shut behind them. The moment it closed, it felt like the air finally moved again. I knelt beside Lily. She tugged on my arm with trembling fingers. "Mom, did I do something wrong?" I shook my head. "No, sweetheart, not at all." Paige wrapped her arms around her sister from behind, whispering something soft I couldn't hear. Across the room, one of the parents, the kind, quiet type, stood up and said, "Kids, who wants to play outside for a bit?" And just like that, the frozen moment cracked. They scattered toward the yard, relieved to escape the tension. I ordered the replacement food as soon as the kids were outside. It took a while to arrive, long enough for us to breathe, but not long enough for anyone to leave. People helped set it out without being asked. There were small, sympathetic smiles, tiny squeezes on my arm, that silent parent-to-parent understanding. Michael stayed beside me. He didn't speak. He was still breathing like someone who had just run uphill. I looked at him, this man who had spent his entire life shrinking himself around his family, the man who always tried to keep the peace, even when it suffocated him. And now he'd done the one thing nobody ever believed he would do. He stood up, he chose his daughter, he chose us. Lily came back inside, running straight into Michael's arms. He lifted her without thinking, held her tight, buried his face in her hair like he was rebooting from the inside out. Outside, the kids were laughing again. Parents were chatting quietly. Paige was bringing Lily a safe cupcake with sprinkles, and inside me something settled. Not peace exactly, more like certainty. Because once Michael said those words, "You need to leave," there was no going back. The party was still happening around us, kids playing, food arriving, people adjusting. But the real story, it had only just begun. The house felt too quiet when we walked in that evening, not peaceful. Quiet in the way hospitals get quiet, controlled, tense, waiting. The girls went straight to their rooms in that post-party exhaustion only sugar crashes can create. Lily was smiling, though. That mattered. She'd eaten her safe food, played with friends, and laughed with Paige. Whatever storm happened around her, she still walked out with a birthday. Michael and I stood in the hallway like we didn't know where to put our bodies. He kept rubbing the back of his neck. I kept pacing because standing still makes me feel like I'm drowning. I finally said it. That was insane. He didn't answer, not with words. He just walked into his office, opened his laptop, and his whole posture changed. Not frantic, not emotional, focused. He clicked into his banking apps like someone logging into a demolition control panel. "What are you doing?" I asked, stepping behind him. He didn't look up, finishing what I started. 4 taps later, his parents' monthly transfer was gone. 3 more, and the emergency credit line he'd opened for them years ago was canceled. He deleted scheduled payments, standing orders, every financial tie his family had knotted around him. It all happened in under 2 minutes. No hesitation, no regret, no dramatic declaration. Just click, 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 centuries of family obligation erased. Watching him do it was like watching someone finally cut a rope from around their own throat. And then in the middle of the silence he said, "I'm done." 2 words. Quiet. Final. Terrifying in their certainty, before I could respond, he picked up his phone, typed one single message in the family group chat, and hit send. "Paige and Lily will not be attending any future events. We're protecting our daughters. Please don't contact us again." That was it. No explanation, no apology, no invitation for debate. Michael, professional peacekeeper, just nuked the bridge in one line. I sat down at the edge of the couch, watching him like he had grown new bones. He didn't sit with me, didn't need to. He just reached over, rested his hand on my shoulder for half a second, the smallest anchor, and then got up again. "Jessica," he said, "yeah, cancel the catering payment. It wasn't a question. Oh. I liked this version of my husband. Brittany had billed me through her event planning startup. She had even added a little sparkle emoji next to her business name when she sent the invoice. My bank app pulled it right up. $2,500. Brittany Events LLC. I clicked dispute and typed, "Unsafe food provided, child with known allergy endangered, service unusable." Sent. Done. It took 14 seconds. Somewhere in the distance, I swear the universe leaned back and whispered, "Uh-oh." Because Brittany noticed fast. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with her name, then again, and again. Then her texts started coming in like machine gun fire. "What did you do? You canceled the payment?" That was my money. "I already spent it. You're robbing me." "Jessica, answer me right now." I did not answer. I turned the phone face down on the couch and stared at the ceiling. "This is going to get loud," I said. Michael nodded once. "Let it." It got loud faster than I expected. Someone sent me a screenshot 5 minutes later. Brittany had posted on her Facebook business page, then on her regular page, then in a neighborhood group, then in the extended family chat. She was everywhere at once. I was robbed today. My own sister-in-law refused to pay for a full-service party I planned for months. I spent money I didn't have, and now she stole it from me. The comments were rolling in. Some were supportive, because there is always at least one person dumb enough to swallow anything with a sob story attached. But then the real comments started. "Wait, weren't you the one who served unsafe food to a child? If you can't follow an allergy list, maybe this business isn't for you." She was right to cancel. "Honestly, you should be paying them. Why did you serve nuts at a party with kids?" One woman even wrote, "Your services are dangerous. Shut this down before someone gets hurt." And then someone else wrote, never hire you, ever. Brittany's replies were unhinged. It wasn't my fault. She should have brought a plate. She's teaching her kid to be selfish. None of that food was for her. I did nothing wrong. Watching it unfold was like watching someone try to put out a fire with gasoline. I might have enjoyed it a little too much, but the hit came when I checked her business page again an hour later. 1-star reviews were already appearing. Not from the party guests, just from people reading her meltdown. The internet moved faster than guilt. At 9:13 p.m., she posted a final message. I'm closing my business. Happy now? Yes, I was. Just when I was about to breathe again, my phone started ringing. Sherry, of course. Then Richard. Then Brittany. Then the three of them in a group called Family Emergency. We ignored all of them. Michael slid his phone into a drawer like someone putting away a loaded weapon. But they weren't done. Because the next morning they realized something. The money was gone, all of it. Every monthly payment, every emergency transfer, every quiet loan. Years of support they never once said thank you for. The screaming started early. Michael's phone lit up with, where is the money? The bank is wrong. Fix this, bring back the payments. Now you owe us, Michael. Pick up the phone, he replied once, just once. No mistake, silence, short-lived silence. Because at 11:47 a.m., our doorbell rang. I opened the door slowly. There they were. Sherry, Richard, and Brittany, looking like someone had shoved her into a blender and hit a pulse. Sherry started before I even said hello. You will fix this. Richard, we relied on that support. Brittany, I spent that money. Do you know what you did to me? Michael stepped beside me, and for the second time in 24 hours he shocked them speechless. We're done, he said. No, Sherry snapped. You don't get to be done. You exploited me for years. She shut up. Richard blinked rapidly. We never. You took money from me every month and acted like it was owed. Brittany's voice cracked. You stole from me. You endangered my daughter, he said. Then you defended it. They all stopped talking. He kept going. You lied about Jessica. You attacked her. You humiliated her. You tried to blame her for protecting Lily. Sherry swallowed hard. Michael, you're not safe for my kids, he said, and I will not let you near them again. Her mouth dropped open. This is the line, he said softly, and you crossed it. No shouting, just truth. Brittany stepped forward. You can't do this. Michael shook his head. Leave. That one word hit them harder than anything else. They glared, they sputtered, but they left. The door shut behind them with a final, echoing click. Michael leaned against the wall for a moment, palms pressed to it like he needed to steady the world. I walked to him, put a hand on his back. We're free, I said. He exhaled. Long. Shaking. Like he'd been holding that breath for a lifetime. And as I stared at the closed door, at the silence filling our home, at the space where their voices no longer lived, I realized something. They didn't just lose access to us. They lost control, they lost their power, and they lost the one person who had always said yes to them. Michael finally said no, and this time it meant forever.